The thing that interests me about biomimicry is its potential to really break a paradigm and change the game in a sense. For instance, in environmental circles, we're often looking at detergents and trying to find a way to change that formula so that it doesn't impact aquatic systems. But when you look at the natural world and you say, how does nature clean itself? Nobody besides us uses detergents. Nobody's soaping up. So then you say, okay, there's lots of things in the natural world that need to stay clean, your eyes and your skin and leaves, because leaves have to photosynthesize, so they have to stay clear of dust. And sure enough, I mean, 22 years ago, we finally put a lotus leaf under the microscope and really took a look at it. Some scientists in Bonn, Germany did this. Because the lotus leaf is a symbol of purity. It stays extremely dry and pristine even though it's in really muddy environments. And what's happening on the surface of the lotus leaf is counterintuitive, whereas in our clean rooms we try to keep things absolutely smooth. The secret of the lotus's success is that it's rough, its surface is rough. It's got nano bumps on it, and they're at a particular distance from one another. And what happens is that instead of dirt particles adhering fully to the surface, they actually teeter on the bumps. So they're loose. And then rainwater, balls up. And as it rolls off, it picks up these loose dirt particles. It pearls them off, like a snowball taking leaves off your lawn or something. And so now that's being applied in a lot of different ways. There's a building facade paint called Lotusin from a company called Stowe. And when it dries, it has the bumpy surface of the lotus leaf. It doesn't use the lotus leaf. They're not harvested and ground up into the paint at all. It's just that they've mimicked that architecture. And rainwater cleans the building. Another one that really changes the game completely is when you ask yourself, okay, we always talk about how to reformulate paints so they're less toxic. Well, the real function is creating color. So a biomimic says, how does nature create color? And nature creates color in two ways. One is with pigments, like we do, the chemical pigments in paint, but that's very expensive. The other way is called structural color. And that's what you see, and it's some of the brightest and most iridescent organisms are not using pigment at all. Peacocks, bluebirds, really shiny iridescent beetles, morpho butterflies. They've got brown pigment in them. That's just to make the color pop. But what's happening is that there's transparent layers. For instance, in butterflies, there's some layers. Light goes through, it refracts back out to your eye a certain color, blue or green or gold. It's a very different way of making color. When you think about it, what in the natural world paints? What applies a coat of paint? Nobody besides us to create that color. So structural color, this is being applied, structural color is being applied, for instance, there's a company called Morphotex that's making a fabric right now. It's completely transparent. The fibers actually are layers of transparent polymers, and as light goes through, it creates the color blue. There's a beautiful range of colors. So what that gets away from is, in the river downstream of a textile plant, you don't have those dyes. You don't have the chromiums for yellow. You get away from that completely because you're using a free energy source, which is light, and using design to use that free energy source of light to create color to your eyes.